Metal Gear. But it's not Metal Gear Solid, it's Metal Gear Rising Revengeance. I guess I should introduce myself. It's Michael, I'm back, another video review. Metal Gear Rising Revenge. Let's kick this shit off. It's hard to believe that Metal Gear Rising was dead in the water at one point. Kojima's lofty vision proved to be too big for its britches, leading to a cancellation that was later handed off to Platinum Games, creators of such quality titles like Vanquished and Bayonetta. Dropping the solid from the title and changing the core gameplay from stealth to a hack and slash, Platinum Games has birthed a successful new spin-off from the Metal Gear franchise, a huge achievement given the game's backstory. Rising takes place after MGS4, meaning the Patriots are no longer running a war economy-controlled world. Raiden, everyone's favorite naked cartwheeling sissy boy from Metal Gear Solid 2, now works for a PMC striving for peace. During talks with an African Prime Minister, an infamous terrorist group launches a blitzkrieg attack, killing the Prime Minister and crippling Raiden in the process. Living up to the title, Revenge intertwines with Raiden's focus on those responsible, along with figuring out why it happened. Action takes a precedence over long-winded cutscenes, which is good for fast pacing, but not as helpful for getting the details out in a satisfying manner. Revengeance is rather short, meaning the plot devices are introduced and solved quickly, especially within the last hour, which crams many solid ideas into a concentrated info dump that can be hard to grasp. Platinum Games has never really conveyed a satisfying tale, and while Revengeance is a step up for them, it doesn't quite match Kojima's work. However, the story is not a complete bust. The swift pacing can be refreshing, but Raiden's internal struggle is one of the narrative highlights within the campaign. I'm hesitant to reveal exactly what it is, but know this. Many games have failed at the so-called morale system, and Revengeance presents it and flips it on its head. Raiden is nearly psychotic and insane, and this plot thread displays that nicely. Everyone else ranges from just alright to goddamn insane. Raiden's support team is just kind of there without any characterization, but the assortment of villains is superb. Like traditional Metal Gear, the baddies are introduced early on via a nefariously named group. Meeting each of these lunatics is thrilling, and their twisted philosophy they spray upon you might make you rethink some of your beliefs. Of course, they're all fantastical scenarios, but baddies that have their mind set on their goal is something that is easily respectable, and Revengeance pulls this off well. Fighting these guys is also what makes them so compelling. Between the steady build-up, the incredible rock opera soundtrack, and the actual ridiculousness of the fights themselves, each battle is a climactic encounter to the death. Each fight takes multiple strategies and stages, and all feel like superb tests of skill and ability. The last boss might be an exception, but the sheer stupidity, the good kind, makes up for it. Battles with infantry are no slouch either. Raiden can use traditional light and heavy combo attacks to weaken the opposition, but the real talking point is the Zandatsu slicing. Zandatsu translates to cut and take, and that's exactly what it is. While some enemies need to be weakened, pressing in the shoulder button allows for Raiden to enter a slow-motion blade mode, one that lets you control the angle of the sword to slice the weak parts and grab their life essence sword in the body. Simplicity is the fundamental building block of Zandatsu, but despite the hundreds of times you do it, it never ceases to be awesome. If you don't mimic the crushing animation Raiden does, you have more self-control than me. Defensive techniques are a bit more complex. Instead of an active guard button like most games, Revengeance opts to forge its own path by exclusively having a parry mechanic. By moving the stick in the right direction and pressing the light attack button, Raiden will block and counter the incoming attack. The better the timing, the better the counter. They don't teach this odd mechanic well, so some players might have to stop early on, but once you wrap your head around it, the combat falls into a rhythm that is hard to match. However, the parry can even cause trouble for people that click with it. The parry is dependent on the camera, which sadly isn't up to speed. It can spontaneously jerk around or throw itself off-center, making the act of blocking that much more difficult than it needs to be. Off-screen rockets and other ranged attacks can also throw off a game with such a groove. It just sucks it has to follow the old terrible action game trope that can straight up ruin some encounters. In a more passive complaint, Revengeance fails to introduce useful secondary weapons. The rocket launchers are awful and much too slow, but the bigger disappointment is the melee weapons. 3 additional armaments can be placed on the heavy attack button, but none are deep or satisfying enough to supplement the combat. Instead, each feels like it was designed to hamstring the sword combat. Oddly enough, sticking to just the high-frequency blade was the most enjoyable way to get through every encounter. Revengeance has its share of niggling issues, but none destroy the game for what it is, a solid experience on the whole. For every time you fail a parry or get hit by an off-screen rocket, you'll slice up a boss into 1,000 pieces, then continue to have a conversation with his confetti corpse. That's what Revengeance is. A bunch of ridiculousness packed into an engaging hack-and-slash spin-off, one that I definitely want to see more of. I wrote a whole review for Revengeance on the site. I gave it an 8 out of 10. It's a great game. People should totally pick it up. Might be a little hard for some people to pick up at 60 because the replay value isn't all there, but it's totally worth it for people interested. So, hope you guys read the text and like this video, and I'll see you next time for another game with probably less Raiden and less Snake. Anyway, thank you, I love you, and goodbye.
Very good.
All right, we'll call it a draw.